Hey everyone, Zero Jada here with the X-Play Fans channel. I'm here to give you a quick taste of 1979 Revolution Black Friday, a game that takes place in, of course, 1979 in Iran during the period of a revolution. It is actually, at the beginning of the game, it said it's actually based on a real-life events, and there's actually a really cool tie-in that I can show you how they do it, and it's a really cool way that they do it. You play as Reza, and it's actually... you're a photographer who I believe just came back from being away about a year ago in Germany. So you went to Germany and came back to your home in Iran, and you come home to this crazy revolution going on, all that kind of fun stuff. The story is very much told in the same way of how the Telltale games do, or you are picking, on a limited time, you're picking dialogue choices and some QTEs. They even go as far as to be like, hey, so-and-so will remember this, or like Babak here, I believe his name is, will remember this kind of thing. But it doesn't really seem to invest like, hey, this you sided with this person. There is only like a real vague mention of earlier, like at one point I decided not to be violent, and they made a vague reference to like, oh, you showed restraint today and before, and just now and before kind of thing. But it's like, hey, the Shah, the person in charge, is like, hey, this is a democracy, but of course the people aren't happy, and it sounds like from the revolution side of he's super corrupt, the military is corrupt, and of course Babak here wants to do peaceful protests while your cousin Ali wants to do violent, kill the military kind of thing.
That's an interesting look.
I've seen this guy before. He calls himself the Walking Dead. He's a walking memorial.
Peceaful, my son, please take a picture. Show the world what is happening here.
So this is how one of a lot of the interactions is here. Since you're a photographer, you're taking pictures.
Look at this street as a sandwich.
And you go in a little mini game and
Yeah, I'm
take
great.
pictures. So what's fun here is usually if you go and hit Y, you'll get more info, and once in a while there'll actually be pictures of like you'll take a picture, and then to the right or left of it there'll be like a contrast of a real picture that was actually taken from that time period, that of, and with like a little blurb of like actual real information comparing the game to a real life experience.
The sabzi and the tea.
I believe there's actually one over here on the right. For those who are curious about achievements, a lot of them are story related, and then like, hey, side with this person, save this person kind of thing, collectibles and all that. So it shouldn't take that long. I actually beat this game in about 2.5 hours without really running around and getting all the achievements or collectibles. So I believe this is actually one of the pictures that I will get a real life one.
They're the bread, the news.
See right there on the right, like I think that's really cool. And it's gonna kind of bring you in here and tell you these, like, hey, this is what the bazaar is for. And then it's going to give me context of like during this time period, the bazaar, there was protests. People were not coming into work and kind of stuff.
Society without workers. Okay, I'm listening.
So the entire story is told through, well, most of the story is told through flashbacks of Reza being in a interrogation room and being interrogated.
The bodies of 377 people were recovered from the rubble.
They do that. They do the kind of Assassin's Creed thing where they will speak mostly in English and then
That's what makes a sandwich a sandwich.
a different language for small little sections of it.
The clothes we wear, the things we follow, that's what makes Iran Iran. Mint, basil, tarragon.
Tarragon.
Writers, the revolutionaries, giving us the extra kick we need.
There is a small issue that, like, if I don't stop and listen to him, and he is still talking when I triggered like this next cutscene, they'll talk over each other.
My father and
Like if I had gotten here and he was still talking, they would both be talking.
must unjustly be imprisoned so that the
Luckily, it's not like he'll have a huge amount of dialogue. He'll probably be finishing his last sentence, and then I'll get here.
Read the truth of what is really happening. Anything else you read is corrupt and filled with lies.
I'll take it.
Thank you, sister.
So yeah, see, we'll remember that I took that pamphlet. She'll make him reference to that later on. But it's like there are multiple like groups here, and they're all like, yeah, the Shah's kind of a jerk, and they're all kind of teaming up and planning stuff. Apparently, there have been bombings. They said earlier they mentioned like a cinema fire where apparently the Savak, the secret police, had come in and like locked men, women, and children in a cinema during a movie and set it on fire. Later on, I see a poster for that movie that was playing, and they're like, yeah, that's the movie that was on when all those people burned to death. The story does take some time to get rolling, and it's
Black seeds on top.
It's actually
are all the people
like
left
it's
in the
sad
shadows
because
by the
I
shore.
started to get invested near the
Addicts,
end with
beggars, the poor.
like when you get to his actual house, there's of like his mom and dad, and his mom is like, no, we like she's more worried about her political standing and all that kind of stuff, because she's used to a certain way of living, all that stuff. But then your dad kind of comes aside and it's like, you know, I went through this same thing when I was young. You do what you need to do, and by now your camera's been destroyed, and you need to do what you need to do, but you stay safe. Also, by the way, there's a camera in my study. So he's like, he seemed like he was one of the first people who were like, yeah, he sympathized with me. I like him. As for like the kind of tell your own story thing, early on, there's a place where it's like, hey, the guy, like the interrogator tells you his name. When he's like, so what is my name? And he makes you repeat it. When I did not repeat it, he knocked me out of my chair and I refused to say his name and he kicked me 3 times and I died. So I redid that entire scene. And then this time I said his name and he was like, why do you refuse to say my name? And I'm like, what? I said your name. So it doesn't seem like each response is gonna have its own issue or its own response.
I hope we can make it. I'd love to get a shot of Outbox.
This is gonna be great, Reza. One day we can.
So this answer is the same that I would be like if I just said, yeah, just follow me.
Lose each other.
Or yeah, I'll just follow you. The chapters are incredibly short. Like I said before, I finished this game in about 2.5 hours. One of the chapters I think was like literally 3 to 5 minutes.
Brothers and sisters, forget what you have read in the newspapers. They are
So we're gonna exit here and we're gonna go to one of the interrogation scenes, so you can kind of just see of like that's like the current time framing where you're kind of beaten up. Let's see. Most of it is just flashbacks, so let's go through here. Let's just go ahead and kick it off from the beginning. But the story is definitely interesting. The way they compare it to real life events is good. The way it kind of comes across and some of the framing is not the best. He gives you tea.
You're a very lucky man, Mr. Shirazi.
And I apologize for any name mispronunciation. So this is one of like those choices, like he will remember this. I'm gonna take the tea.
Your chai is getting cold. Good.
See, like, oh, he won't forget this. I don't think it actually came up later on.
This could be a very unpleasant place.
So there, like with him, there's a lot of this like
Because here at Evan,
gaps and like drawn out parts just because he's an interrogator. So
Correcting paths? Is that what you call this?
you will learn not to disrespect.
so for last time I talked to him, I didn't answer that, and he did the exact same thing with the exact same response.
You were one of us. We fought side by side to overthrow the Shah, that Western puppet. What changed?
So I can just be quiet, of course.
When did you lose your faith? Instead of helping the new regime, you masterminded horrendous acts of violence against us. Are you ready for your redemption?
At one point, that guy brings in a cattle prod and is swinging it around. Stupidly enough, he actually leaves it on the table.
I don't need.
Close enough that if you reached for it and grabbed it, you could have grabbed it from him.
Redemption is the only thing that can save you.
He's very much about like a sort of religious, like, hey, I'm doing the right thing because
Open it.
I'm gonna open it.
Or are you?
I'm doing the right thing because of this is what I'm supposed to do.
Your photos rallied our nation to rebel against the Shah. But now, they are being used to identify those who
So these are actually photos that you took at some point in the. I think that photo in the upper right is literally like when you zoom in on it
show me an act of good faith.
and zoom in and be like, hey, this is the first chapter.
Reza Shirazi,
There's his name.
you're charged with treason and conspiring to carry out a series of attacks against...
So everything I did so far in this game, or I did at all in this game, were I essentially took pictures and I pulled like a knife out of a person.
Not guilty.
Do you know what we do to traitors here
There's an entire
prison?
There's an entire thing about like, hey, someone inside the revolution's a traitor kind of thing.
I just want to go home.
Don't waste my time. You know what.
But moments like this were pretty good, where it's like, hey, this guy's like an interrogator. He's
so much about
kind of an ass, and he very much is very much set up to be like, you want to hate him.
connected family who are loyal.
It's just weird lulls in the game of
I know about you, Savak.
just like, hey,
Leave my brother out of this.
some weird mood swings. Where like one time your brother helps you get out of a situation, and then immediately when you get home, he rats you out about, he's like, yeah, let's not tell us our parents this. Then he rats you out at dinner and then has you follow him to the door and he's like, hey, brother, you know, I only do this because I care about you, kind of thing.
Do you know who I am?
But if you like the Telltale games, wanted to, you're really curious about this, I'd suggest picking it up. It's a good little history thing. It's a fun little way of learning.
Javardi. But you already knew that, didn't you?
So here
Now,
is the moment I was talking about earlier.
what is my name?
What is my name?
Asadullah Lajavardi.
And some of the weird things, and just because it's like a country thing, there's
Show me the decency.
there's just words I just don't understand.
My name. My name is.
So that's actually gonna come up here in 1 second.
Javardi. But here in heaven, they call me Hajar.
See, I don't know if that means anything. I don't know if that means like the torturer or the dancer of death or something like that. So I'm just gonna refuse.
Let's just get this over with.
One lick,
That's all you got?
2 licks,
This is your last chance, Reza.
3 licks into the center of the Tootsie Pop and death. Anyways, that is 1979 Revolution, Black Friday. It is a Telltale-like game about the revolution and the events of 1979, based on a real story or based on real events. The characters may not be exactly the same. I'm not sure. I'm not versed in this time period because it was about 9 years before I was born. But thank you very much for joining me. I am Zero JD, the CX Play Fans channel. Please check out our other videos. See ya.